Your chief revenue officer is in the quarterly pipeline review. The forecast says one thing, the pipeline in front of the team says another. 3 deals are slipping, 2 changed in size, and 1 was never qualified. Sales calls it bad data. Finance calls it sandbagging. Leadership wants to know which number to bring to the board. The actual problem? No one ever wrote down what each stage is supposed to mean. And in this episode, we're going to walk through the pipeline map. It'll help you achieve a pipeline that tells the truth and a forecast you can defend. Hi, I'm Summer, founder of Driven Connection, and we eliminate inefficiencies that stunt growth. Most leaders think of a pipeline as an inventory of deals. What your pipeline actually is a measurement system, a set of categories with pathways for moving deals between them that the business uses to predict revenue displayed inside your customer relationship system, also known as a CRM. And like every management system, it has one structural problem. Goodhart's Law, restated by anthropologist Marilyn Strathern, explains why. When a measure becomes a target, it stops becoming a useful measure. The pipeline is the measure. Once reps are graded on stage progression stops describing the buyer and starts describing the rep. That isn't bad data. That's called artifact theater, a pipeline performing for the audience that grades it, and the cost shows up as operational debt. Forecast variance, capacity planning errors, and quarters lost to deals that should have been disqualified months ago. The audit is the principal payment on that debt. So who in your business owns the definitions that grade every deal? In too many scenarios, the answer, it's no one. And worst yet, what rules do exist only live in people's heads. Let me show you what that looks like when the discipline gets installed. A few years ago, I joined a marketing firm running campaigns at scale. They had 50+ campaigns on a launch calendar and no defined PMO between them. Their project management tool wasn't configured for the work. Capacity had hit a ceiling, campaigns were slipping, quality was eroding, and no 2 team members agreed on what ready to launch actually meant. The categories loosely existed, but the definitions didn't. So I built the PMO from scratch. I configured the project management tool for the actual marketing workflow shape, not the generic one that they had installed. And I wrote down the stage exit criteria for campaign progression, the observable evidence required to move a campaign from in scope to ready to launch to ready to amplify. Ready to launch, for example, required a signed brief, confirmed launch date, and a verified creative review, all written down once and applied across every campaign in the queue. The result was a 3 times capacity with a line of sight to 10x, achieved with the same team, the same campaigns, and the same calendar. The only thing that changed was that everybody could actually see and understand what ready meant. Work stopped getting redone, and the campaigns that didn't qualify stopped clogging the queue. That's what defining exit stage criteria does for any pipeline. The units change, the discipline doesn't. So if pipelines fail this often, what's the actual cause? Well, there are 3 that account for the most breakdowns. First, undefined stage exit criteria. The categories exist, but the observable evidence required to advance a deal between them does not. So the signal that should move a deal forward never fires on evidence. It fires on optimism. The P&L cost shows up in forfeited revenue, plus payroll spent on opportunities that should have been disqualified at entry. An industry research estimated $965,000 to $3.5 million a year for the average mid-market company. Second, qualified means different things to everyone. Gallup found that employees who lack clear definition of exceptional performance are nearly 4 times less likely to be engaged. Apply that to your reps. They aren't underperforming, they're performing against different rules when one leadership thinks that are different places. And the P&L cost shows up in the leader's time arbitrating definitions that should have been written down once. Third, no one defines dead. Without disqualification rules, deals don't die, they age. Recent practitioner benchmarks put roughly 36% of deals past their projected close dates. Each one inflates coverage, distorts the forecast, and consumes rep hours that should have had deals that would close. The P&L cost shows up in the forfeited revenue tied to no one's quota. System thinkers call this the reinforcing loop. Qualified is never applied, so reps apply different standards. Reviews stay subjective. The audit breaks the loop in 30 minutes by writing down the definition the system was supposed to have. The pipeline map is the audit that does that. It's a 30-minute routine that turns artifact theater problems back into a forecast that you can defend. Here's the highest leverage move, and it isn't a better CRM or a tighter review cadence. It's auditing the measurement system that scores every deal, not the deals themselves. The deal review is the diagnostic, and the definitions are the target. Most pipeline audits fail because they jump straight to deal-by-deal review without first asking the upstream question. What evidence does our process require for a deal to advance between stages? And is that evidence operationally written down? The practitioner framework most mid-market revenue operations or RevOps teams point to when they answer that question is MEDIC, short for metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, identify pain, and champion. Developed by sales leaders at PTC in the 1990s, MEDIC names 6 pieces of buyer-verified evidence that operationalize the word qualified. You don't have to use MEDIC by name. You do have to write down the criteria and enforce them when a rep tries to push a deal past a stage without the required evidence. The bottom line is this: qualified isn't a feeling, and forecast isn't a guess. They're both outputs of stave definitions. If the definitions are observable, written, and applied consistently, your forecast describes reality. If they aren't, your forecast describes what your reps need to manufacture this quarter. That's the shift the audit is built around, from expecting deals to inspecting the measurement system itself. When Frank Slootman took over as CEO of Snowflake in 2019, he refused to scale a sales motion that hadn't proven its own exit criteria. In his book, Amp It Up, he names the principle directly. There is no point in hiring 10 salespeople when you have yet to know how to make even one salesperson productive. Stage definitions before headcount. Discipline before scale. Behind him, his CFO, Mike Scapelli, installed the mechanics that made the discipline operational. A daily revenue reforecast and a sales finance function whose job was to enforce discounting rigor and model customer consumption deal by deal. The whole apparatus was stage definitions, written down and applied consistently. Scarpelli had put the macro version of the same discipline as bluntly as it can be put. If you don't have predictability and you don't have the ability to forecast, there's only one answer: you're not ready to go public. That sentence is the entire thesis of this episode at the scale of an IPO. The discipline that makes a single deal stage describe reality is the same discipline that makes a public company forecast hold. Snowflake's September 2020 IPO was the largest software IPO at the time. The forecast model behind it was built for predictability before public market readiness. The inversion of the artifact theater most mid-market pipelines are running. At 10 million to 100 million in revenue, the equivalent isn't a daily forecast or a sales finance gate. It's writing down one stage exit criterion per pipeline stage and refusing to advance a deal until that criteria is observed and met. The same discipline that gates Snowflake's forecast gates yours. Here's how you do that in your business starting this week. The activity is the pipeline map, and it's a 30-minute exercise. The hardest part isn't the deal review. It's the upstream step most leaders skip. Here are those steps. Step 1, write your stage exit criteria. 1 page, observable evidence per stage. For each stage of your pipeline, list the buyer-verified evidence required to advance. If you use MEDIC, the elements give you a starting structure, like a verified economic buyer, a documented decision process, and an identified pain with a timeline. Write the criteria in language any rep on your team could check. Step 2, pull 10 deals across stages and score each against the criteria. Mark every deal one of three ways. The evidence exists, the evidence does it, or you can't tell from the CRM data. The third category is the most diagnostic. It tells you that definitions that you wrote down aren't even being captured anywhere that reps can record against. Step 3, sort the outcome. Keep, restage, or disqualify. Use the script with your rep. What evidence proves this is a stage 4 closed deal? If the rep answers in one sentence, that deal stays. If not, it moves down or out, and the rep walks away with what they need to find before the next review. Step 4, assign one owner for the definitions and a quarterly cadence to review them. One named person whose job is to keep the stage definitions describing reality as the buyer's behavior shifts. Pipeline drift is what happens when no one owns the definitions. To recap, stage 1, write the stage exit criteria. Stage 2, pull 10 deals and score them. Stage 3, sort between keep, restage, or disqualify. Step 4, assign one owner and the quarterly cadence. You can't control whether a deal closes. You can control whether you defined what a real deal looks like in the first place. Run the pipeline map this week and you'll see exactly which stages stop describing reality and which deals are sitting in the wrong category. That's the start of a pipeline that tells the truth with a forecast you can defend. You're learning, you're growing, and you're building a system-led revenue operation where your pipeline tells you the truth and your forecast holds. Each episode names a different pattern. Subscribe so the next one finds you. I'm your host, Summer Ames Prodan, and we'll fix another inefficiency on the next episode of Driven Growth.